Hi there, good to be back. We're learning today Sanhedrin Perek Beis Mishnah Gimel. Perek Beis Mishnah Gimel. The Mishnah continues to deal with halachas, with laws relating to the melech, to the king. Meis lo meis. If someone related to the king dies, and the people are carrying the oron, are carrying the coffin to the grave, to the Mokom Akvura, to wherever the person is going to be buried. Says the Tanakama, the king, the king may not go out of the entrance to his palace to join the funeral procession because it takes away from the dignity of the king to display his grief in public. That is unbecoming to the position, to the status of the Melech Israel. Look at the words of the Rav. It is beneath his dignity. It's a gnai. Leharos ogmas nefesh lifnei am, to show his agony, to show his tsar. The Melech has to hold himself high, always in prestige and dignity. Comes along Rabbi Yehuda and says, no, that is too much to expect, even of the Melech, who indeed always consistently needs to maintain his dignity and respect, his honor and prestige. But when it comes to his own Avelus, to his own Tsar, says Rabbi Yehuda, Im roitze lotzes achar amita yoitze. If he wants to forgo his honor, he wants to be moichel on his kovod and follow the coffin. Indeed, says Rabbi Yehuda, he may do so. He may do so. Where does Rabbi Yehuda come along and make such a statement to be cholik on the Tanakama? Says Rabbi Yehuda, because shekein matzinu b'David sheyotza achar mitoso shel Avner, because we found the actual case of Melech David following the Oren, following the coffin of Avner, as it states in Shmuel Beis, Perek Gimel, Posuk Lamed Aleph. There it says, Shenemar ve'amelech David hoylech acharei amita. There it says, the David Amelech, King David, walked behind the coffin, walked behind the Oren. What is this relating to, Rabbi Isai? So just to recall this incident, this tragic incident that the Navi in Shmuel Beis tells us about. The Navi tells us that after Melech Shaul, after King Saul died, the throne was claimed by Ish Boishes. Ish Boishes was Shaul HaMelech, was King Saul's son. And it was also claimed, rightfully so, by David. Why was it claimed by David? Because God chose him, appointed him to be the next Melech Yisrael. Now, King Shaul had a general named Avner, who at first supported Ishbosheth to assume the Malchus, but later abandoned him and made a treaty with David HaMelech. When Yoav, David's general, heard of this pact, he suspected Avner of trickery and killed him. David was greatly, greatly distressed over this unjust, uncalled for murder and led the mourners at Avner's funeral. Ah, he led the mourners at Avner's funeral. So you see, according to Rabbi Yehuda, indeed, that a melech, if he wants to, he can go out. The truth of the matter is, one needs to note that although Avner was not actually related to David, so what's the raya? We're talking here about the relatives. What's the raya you're bringing from the fact that he walked after the Oren of Avner? Avner was not related to him. But David mourned him as if he were a relative, as if he were a family member, because Avner was a distinguished Talmid Chacham, and the Gemara tells us in Moed Katan, Daf Chaf Hei, that when a wise man dies, when Meis Talmid Chacham, Kulam Kroivav, all are considered to be, all of Klal Yisrael are considered to be his relatives and must participate in mourning him. And that's the way David HaMelech viewed Avner. Oh, so you see, says Rabbi Yehuda, Im roitze lotzes achar amita yoitze, sheken matzinu b'David, sheyotze achar mitosa shel Avner, sheneemar, והמלך דוד הולך אחר מיתה. Came along the Chachamim who hold that Eino Yoitze mi Pesach Paltun Shaloi, that a melech cannot forfeit his dignity, his honor, his prestige, and participate in following the Oren. So it says in the very first statement of the Mishnah. Came along Rabbi Yehuda and said, but look what David HaMelech did. He walked after Mitosar Shel Avner. So you see, if he wants to, he can participate. If he wants to forfeit his honor. The Chachamim said to Rabbi Yehuda, no, you can't bring a raya from Melech David following the Oren of Avner. That had a specific reason. That had a specific circumstance. The act of David HaMelech following the coffin of Avner was done only to appease the people, to make shalom among everyone. The people suspected David of plotting Avner's murder. So in order to show emphatically that this was not true, so David displayed his grief in public and participated with everyone else. But in normal circumstances, the halacha is, says the Chachamim, like we say, in normal circumstances, not such a national issue, not such a national event as the murder of Avner. Under such normal circumstances, where there isn't this national crisis, that the Melech wants to show that he is indeed participating in order to appease the people, in order to unify the people, in order to show the people that there is unity among them all. In normal circumstances, the king may not join a funeral procession. In other words, says the Tosfos Yontif, David made an exception in order to preserve the unity and the peace of the kingdom and to prevent a rebellion by those who were loyal to Avner. And then the Mishnah adds one more halacha in regard to Melech's mourning, which is in contradistinction to the last halacha that we learned in Mishnah Aleph about whether or not a Kohen Gadol sits on a low stool, sits on the floor when he's in Ovel, and others come to give him Sudas Havro. Others come to extend to him the first meal that is extended to Avelim after they return from the cemetery, from the burial. Says the Mishnah here, when the king's friends, companions come to give him, to feed him the Sudas Avror, the mourner's meal, all the people recline on the ground, on the floor, to show that they too grieve and mourn are misabel over the loss that the king has sustained. But for who Mesev Aladagosh, while he reclines on a couch as befits his status. A note to remember is that the king's status is higher than that of a Kohen Gadol. And one raya is, and therefore, although he too must sit on something low because of his mourning, he reclines on a couch instead of on a bench in order to show his elevated status. Okay.